What's up, Internet? My name is Attack Slug, and let's talk about Monday Night Raw for the week of November the 23rd, 2015. And as you do on Monday Night Raw, we opened up with a promo that kind of went on for a bit too long. It was the Authority kind of recapping everything that had happened at Survivor Series and explaining why they aren't the bad guy. They were just trying to shake Roman Reigns' hand, etc., etc. And out comes Sheamus. And he's like, who looks stupid now? And then out comes Roman Reigns to be like, I want a damn rematch, because of course he does, because he gets that clause in his contract that he was champion for 5 minutes, so being champion, you get your rematch clause. He wanted it on Raw, but Triple H is like, I decide when you get it, and I decide if you get it, and then like he's like, by the way, you get it at TLC. Because of course they get to the TLC, they're not going to do it on Raw, come on now. So, the only significant thing in this segment, outside of all that other extraneous bullshit that, like, is just, could have been done without, or could have been done in a video package that lasted a lot shorter amount of time, is that Rusev is back. So, at least somebody is back that I enjoy watching, considering how many guys have been getting hurt in the past few months. So, Rusev is back, and he is, I guess, part of the Authority now, or helping the Authority for whatever reason. I was hoping that when they brought back Rusev, they would kind of just reboot and just ignore the fact that they split up Rusev and Lana, so, you know, when they're both healthy, have Rusev and Lana just do their thing like they were doing in the beginning. Like, that'd be cool, but not the case. So, we have Rusev back, and he's going to be in the main event tonight, or on Monday night, against Reigns. So, that moves us on to a match that had no real significance in the Wyatts versus the Dudleys. And it was the same two Wyatts from Survivor Series, so it was Bray and Luke Harper with Braun Strowman and Eric Rowan at ringside. But kind of who cares? It's like, well, they couldn't get it done against Taker and Kane, so now we're going to make the Dudleys suffer. Like, none of this has any real significance, and none of this really matters in the long run for anything. Now, certainly at some point they could prove me wrong, and there's some kind of a long con that are going to make the Wyatts matter and not be the Spirit Squad with beards. But it's the wins and losses here, like they say, oh, wins and losses don't matter, but for the Wyatts, they really don't matter. And as such, nothing feels like it has any real sense of consequence for them. Moving on. The Wyatts won. Moving on, Sasha Banks versus Becky Lynch. Man, they had that. I was hyped. I was like, okay, this is gonna be great. Actually have some singles matches with divas who can do excellent singles matches as they've done before. But it's Raw, so they didn't give them nearly enough time, and it ended up with a distraction finish and a roll up, and Sasha Banks won. So that was kind of a bummer. Like, knowing that Sasha and Becky can have fantastic matches, and then not being given the time to have a good match is kind of a bummer. So, that moved us on to a Paige promo, and basically it gave us the setup that, yes, there was a reason at Survivor Series why Charlotte and Paige were so close to the ropes for that submission. It was because Charlotte got kind of under the bottom rope, and therefore that pinfall should not have counted, and she should not have won that match in that fashion, which will set up Paige versus Charlotte in a rematch for the Divas title on this episode of Raw, and that'll be later on tonight. Now, moving on to what is obviously the best part of the show. The New Day had their 1-year anniversary. They had a jamboree. They had unicorn pony things. Big E was wearing like the hat from Toy Story. It was like, you want to be heels, like, and you want to have fun with it. Like, those guys just don't give a fuck. They are just killing it every week. And they were going to have an open challenge for their tag titles. So, of course, that brings out the Lucha Dragons, and that brings out the Usos. They had Kalisto talking, and apparently he was born in Chicago, and he can talk English just fine. And then Sin Cara was like saying things in Spanish and then saying things in English. Now, obviously, Sin Cara is Hunico, and Hunico had a run where, you know, he didn't have a mask on. He was, you know, doing the English thing just fine. But the funniest part of this whole thing was I mean, there were a lot of really funny parts of this whole thing. But to me, the funniest part of this whole thing was Kofi Kingston in the background when Sin Cara is doing his thing and doing his like Spanish line and then doing the translation. Kofi Kingston in the background going, "You don't need to translate. We speak Spanish." Like, that was fantastic. Like, the New Day just, I don't think, like, I have to believe that a lot of their stuff is just not the typical WWE, we're going to script every single part of this promo stuff that just makes things so terrible. And that is why it is doing so well, because they're able to just cut loose and go nuts with it. And it's working real. What the hell was that? Kick out. And it's working really, really well, and I continue to enjoy that. That is, for me, the highlight of Raw, so please, please do not let any members of the New Day get injured like everybody else has been getting injured, because that'd be a damn shame, because they have been just nailing it for like 6 months now. It's great. Anyway, that moves us on to this match. Mark Henry versus Neville. With Neville winning after like nothing of a match. It was like a head kick, and he got the red arrow, and there was a kick out, but he didn't quite make the kick out. And then Mark Henry's like, you're gonna go far, kid. And apparently this is all to set up Neville versus The Miz, because they had The Miz in the back kind of watching the monitor, standing up. Why is everybody standing up? There are chairs there, right? Anyway, yeah, so I guess we're gonna do Neville Miz, and that could be alright. Like, certainly to move on from Neville and Stardust finally, so that's something. But what the hell are they doing with Mark Henry? Like, seriously. Is he going to retire? Is he going to keep being this, like, 5-minute jobber? Like, he's a big dude. He shouldn't be jobbing out that fast. And certainly to guys like Neville. As much as I like Neville, like, that logistically makes very little sense. Anyway, that moves us on to another fantastic part of the evening, which was Titus O'Neil wandering into where Stardust lives, back in his cosmic room backstage, which is like the same room that the Wyatts have, but it has more lights. Anyway, that was a pretty fun little, bit of work between Stardust and Titus. And that was to set up Goldust and the Primetime Players versus Stardust and the Ascension, because they've been doing the thing for a little bit now. And the Faces won, and Goldust did the dance with them at the end, and there wasn't a whole lot else there that was significant. So whether or not you're actually going to reboot and try once again to have a significant match between Goldust and Stardust, and certainly they had one back at, what was that, Fastlane, and that, World Strongly Slam, and that Fastlane crowd in Memphis was terrible. That crowd at Fastlane. That was when Reigns fought Daniel Bryan to see who was going to fight for the world title at Mania. And that crowd at Fastlane was terrible, and they did not react at all to that Goldust-Stardust match. So hopefully they can try again and have it with a crowd that actually gives a shit, and give Goldust a proper send-off before he, eventually kind of fades away. Anyway, that was followed up with Zeb Coulter and Alberto Del Rio coming out to cut another Mex America promo. Now that the thing is done for them, now that the world title tournament is done and Del Rio's out of that, we can go back to this whole whatever the hell they're doing with Mex America. And they couldn't do it in the ring because Zeb Coulter can't get in the ring because he's got, like, bad hips. And there's your victory from Mark Henry. So, there's that. So they're cutting this promo by the announce table. And that seems weird. But the reasoning is they had to have Jack Swagger come out and interrupt that promo with his, promo stuff. And you can't have them on stage and then have Swagger come out and be on stage, because then they get into an altercation or whatever else. It had to be a back and forth promo deal and not an altercation. So therefore, if you can't get Zeb in the ring on his little scooter, then you gotta have him out by the announce table. That was... Anyway, this feud only works, this Del Rio Swagger thing only works if you ignore all of the previous history between these three characters. Because if you had any kind of memory of what they were doing before Swagger got hit for weed, before Del Rio got fired for slapping that guy. Before all that, if you're getting into their feud before all that stuff, this feud makes no fucking sense whatsoever. So, we're supposed to cheer for Jack Swagger, who is mad at Zeb Coulter because he's not racist anymore? Like, I can't. We're supposed to forget everything that happened, and granted, they assume that you forget anything that happened longer than 6 months ago. But for those of us who've been watching wrestling for a while, we don't forget. And we know that your whole thing with Zeb Coulter getting mad at the Mexicans who were sneaking across the border on your people, and there was a big feud with Swagger and Del Rio at WrestleMania. So, the fact that now Del Rio is with Coulter and they're doing their Mex America thing, and Swagger's like, how come we're not racist anymore? Like, we the people, come on. And Swagger's supposed to be the face here? Like, the whole thing with Zeb Coulter is that he was like that, he was mocking Glenn Beck and the Tea Party and everything else, and now it's like super, like, I don't like, no one's motivations in here make any goddamn sense, and none of it is working, and continuingly, that's not a word, Del Rio still looks just like he just does not want to be there. He's like, I'm getting a good paycheck and I'm working less dates, but he just looks so goddamn bored. Let's get him out of this gimmick, get him out of this angle, do anything else with Del Rio. I think he's a perfectly competent wrestler, and when he's motivated, he's fantastic, and he looks so unmotivated. Anyway, we get into Paige versus Charlotte for the Divas Championship. This match ended with a double count out, which nobody ever likes. Like, nobody ever likes those. They're kind of whatever and dull, and obviously you're gonna set up for a TLC match between Paige and Charlotte. A match at TLC, not a TLC match. I mean, you could have a tables match that's happened before with Divas. It was like Lay Cool versus Beth Phoenix, and Natalya had a tables match like years ago. Anyway, and yes, I'd seen people were hitting me up on Twitter when this happened, that once again Paige was doing her submission on the table. That doesn't make it more effective. Like, obviously you're trying to show for your pay-per-view that's gonna be happening in December, but that doesn't make submissions. If you did a headlock on a table, that's not gonna make the headlock hurt more. I'm sorry, it's just. Anyway, moving on. Moving on to the most surprising part of the show, Heath motherfucking Slater, the one-man band, baby! Back on the show, and was. Now, I like Heath Slater. I think he is fantastic at getting his ass kicked, and I think he's fantastic at being annoying, right? However, having Heath Slater come out to do the shit all over country music heat, when the New Day had just done that like an hour and a half beforehand, kind of gave it less impact. It didn't really work as well. Now, this wasn't a match, but it did bring out Ryback to interrupt Heath Slater shitting all over country music. Now, unfortunately, there was no addressing of, hey, I thought we were like Nexus or against us, because both those guys were in the Nexus a long time ago. But no, there was no mention of the Nexus or against us. And Heath Slater made the mistake of hitting Ryback over the back with the guitar, and not hitting him over the head with the guitar like the Honky Tonk Man or Jeff Jarrett, etc., etc. So that was the end of that segment. I think he gave him this, like, the meat hook and the shell shock and whatever. There was no match here. So that moves us on to possibly the most SmackDown thing of all time. Dolph Ziggler and Dean Ambrose versus Tyler Breeze and Kevin Owens. I don't want to live in a world where Tyler Breeze is going to tag team with Kevin Owens. Those two are opposites. I understand. They're both heels. I get it. This was such a Teddy Long decision. Going to have a tag team match, playa, holla holla. But Tyler Breeze and Kevin Owens should never be on the same page. They should be feuding at all times. Anyway, the faces win. I bet they'll do it again on SmackDown. I don't watch SmackDown, so let me know. Then we moved on to our most fever dream part of the evening. which was JBL and El Torito, who are apparently friends. That bull's target, Michael! Arguing about what they're going to have to eat. Do they want to eat Tex or Mex? First of all, no one talks like that. No one says, I'm going to go out and have Tex. No one talks like that. But because the Hardee's Tex-Mex burger is a thing, this was their little video package for that. Now, granted, I will give them one thing. This was way funnier than Damien Sandow doing the thing with Sonic. This was way funnier than Adam Rose promoting that shitty-ass Oculus movie. So I will at least give them that. It was funnier than the previous attempts at this kind of in-branding thing with superstars. It's not, you know, that. So Mark Henry's like, he wanted, like, he imagines JBL Torito, which was, that's funny enough in itself, and they kind of, you know, had filmed some stuff for that, and kind of had like a little video package for that, and then magically JBL and El Torito are gone, and here's the guy with a hamburger, and Mark Henry picks up the burger, doesn't bite it, doesn't eat it, walks away. Like, it was so over the top stupid, and the guys in this, the JBL and Mark Henry and El Torito were so committed to the bit that I can appreciate what they're doing here, even if I thought it was pretty fucking stupid. There's usually there's a good kind of stupid and a bad kind of stupid. And this kind of veered more toward the good kind of stupid. Anyway, getting long here in this video. Main event: Rusev versus Reigns. Reigns got a victory by disqualification because Bad News Barrett, who apparently can't do anything right, says, hey, I'm gonna get a chair, and Roman Reigns immediately gets the chair, and then it's Roman Reigns using a chair on 3 guys, and the end of this Raw can be described in those infamous 4 words: make him look strong. And that's what they did, making him look strong. But I'm interested in the fact that it looks like they'll be doing one of the storylines that was in a SmackDown vs. Raw video game with Sheamus and Barrett and Rusev being the European Union. Although obviously that game had it was like Sheamus and like Regal and somebody. I don't. It's been a long time. But yeah, so I guess they're doing that there. They're going to be like a faction of Europeans, and it's like, well, it's a shame that Drew McIntyre's not there anymore. Whatever. So, that was your main event. Match was okay, but, you know, it was Roman Reigns, make him look strong. And it feels like at least in this particular city, people were getting behind Roman Reigns. Now, whether or not those cheers and chants were piped in like Goldberg, who knows? But it seemed like the Roman Reigns experiment here was at least functioning better. And Rusev wins. At least functioning better than it has been, and certainly better than it was at Survivor Series, where he was in the ring with the confetti, like, crying, and people were still booing him, because fuck him. So, that is going to do it for another week of Raw reactions. Let me know what you thought of Raw down in the comments. I'm always curious to find out if people enjoyed Raw or not. I say, overall, enough things happened. Now, not everything I enjoyed on this Raw. I didn't enjoy everything that happened, but enough different things happened that I thought at least they're going somewhere. Even if the rating apparently was in the fucking toilet, at least things are happening on a number of fronts that I can get behind, even if a lot of my guys that I like are injured. So, that's going to do it. I'm your host, Sack Slug. This is Raw Reactions, and I'll see you next time, and every day, I guess, for more videos right here on this channel, and I'm out!